Ever wondered how to compare Kamikaze by Beatrice Garland and another poem from the AQA Power and Conflict Anthology? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the world of GCSE English literature, specifically focusing on the AQA Power and Conflict Anthology, a rich collection of poems that explore the theme of power and the many ways it manifests in human conflict. We'll be shedding light on how to effectively compare these thought-provoking poems. So, stay tuned to find out the simplest way to compare these poems. First things first, understanding the poems is key. Let's dive into Kamikaze by Beatrice Garland. This poem reveals the anguish of a kamikaze pilot's family as he breaks away from a suicide mission. The recurring theme is the conflict between duty and personal instinct. A quote that encapsulates this is, "Her father embarked at sunrise with a flask of water, a samurai sword in the cockpit, a shaven head full of powerful incantations." Now let's look at Exposure by Wilfred Owen. This poem paints a vivid image of the harsh conditions faced by soldiers in World War I. Its main themes are the brutality of war and the struggle for survival. A quote that brings this to life is, "Our brains ache in the merciless iced east winds that knife us. Wearied, we keep awake because the night is silent." Now that we have familiarized ourselves with the poems, let's move on to the next step. Having grasped the themes of the poems, the next step is to compare them. When comparing, it's crucial to highlight not only the similarities, but also the differences. Let's start with the themes. Both poems might center around conflict, but they approach it from different angles. One might focus on the inner conflict of the protagonist, while the other might depict the societal conflict. Next, consider the use of language and imagery. Even if the poems share the same theme, the poets might use entirely different language techniques to convey their messages. One could use metaphors and similes to create vivid mental pictures, while the other might rely on direct, straightforward language. Lastly, think about the poet's intentions. What are they trying to convey through their poems? Are they critiquing society, expressing personal emotions, or perhaps trying to provoke thought in the reader? With these points in mind, we have successfully compared the poems. Now let's proceed to the final step. The final step is to structure your answer effectively. Here's a tried and tested way to do just that. Begin with an introduction. This should briefly identify the key themes shared by Kamikaze and your chosen poem. Then you'll want to write a series of paragraphs, each one focusing on a different theme or aspect of the poems. Start each paragraph with a clear point, then provide evidence from both poems to support this point. That's where your quotes come in. Then, analyze the effects of the language, structure, and form used in the poems on the reader. Remember, it's not just about what the poets say, but how they say it. After you've exhausted your points of comparison, wrap up your answer with a conclusion that summarizes your main points and gives a final thought. With this, you are now fully equipped to compare Kamikaze by Beatrice Garland and any other poem from the AQA Power and Conflict Anthology. That's it. You've just learned how to compare two poems. We've delved deep into Kamikaze by Beatrice Garland and another poem from the AQA Power and Conflict Anthology, exploring their themes, key words, and how to structure your comparisons for maximum marks. Keep these tips in mind as you tackle your GCSE English literature questions. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more tips and tricks on GCSE English literature. Stay curious and keep exploring the world of poetry.